Faredoon Bhujwala, they call me Dodo as a nickname. I live in Churchgate, Bombay, India. Where do I begin? I started as a Maverick Dancer. Maverick meaning serious Maverick, night clubbing and street dancing, and got picked up for a musical. And of course, being the wild one and being, I want to just dance, I want to be free, I want to be me sort of thing in the late 70s, I went for an audition and sort of giggled myself silly. And all these ballet dancers were there and all these very proper dancers. I was like, what am I doing here? And of course, I kicked my legs up. I also broke a lamp and I said, I'm out of here. I'm sure I've lost this. And made friends with a ballet dancer who is my friend now, which is 30 years later. We're great friends now. And she was this little snooty thing, Nisha. And I got into the musical and she didn't. So that's the kickstart. And then we just do shows in these fields, what we have Maidans, like big open fields. That was just the starting of fashion shows. So we used to open fashion shows with the sort of silhouette dancing, or break through the screen and crawl all over the place, or zip down the, the ramp and do things. So it was very lovely. It was very free. It was very sort of energetic. And it's through dance that I found what you would call faith. Because I was not a religious, and I'm not a religious person. But yes, I have faith, I believe. And a lot of dancing from the 70s through to the 90s. Then I took into serious theater and experimental theater and doing Shakespeare in Indian outfits. So it's just a progression all the time. From that wild dancing, it was ballet. I'm jumping a little. So, then I started doing ballet after dancing for about 4 years. I decided to do some training because the body wasn't doing enough. So I needed more. So I learned ballet. Then I did contemporary dance. Then I did all the Indian dance. I did Bharatanatyam, Odissi, a little bit of Kathak, a little bit of Kuchipudi, which is from down south, and Kalaripayattu, which is the martial arts, which karate, judo, and all have their source in. Because Bodhidharma is one of the monks who took it from south to Kerala to China and Japan. And that's where it developed into karate and kung fu and things. It's wild. Then I was in New York for a weekend, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 months. I discovered the Martha Graham School. I could not leave that place. There was something about it. There was so much soul, so much power. And Martha Graham has this thing about you don't hide anything. You don't suppress the pain or the angst or anything that's in it, whether it's joy or pain, anything. You just show it raw. Like in ballet and most of the traditional things, you sort of pretend it's not happening and it just happens automatically. But here it shows the mechanics. It shows your machinery, your body and your heart and what's making you move. And there's one very, very, very strong line which actually jiggered it up for me. Because she has this poster of hers. It's a very famous poster with her doing a sort of arabesque like that. And it says, mediocrity is a sin. And I was like, I live in a country of mediocrity. All our shows are mediocre. All our costumes are mediocre. All our dance is mediocre. And I came back and was in this big abyss. Because everything I did was mediocre. And that really triggered something which was great, but not so good for the commercial side. But whatever, it just had to change. So that's when I got more into theatrics and using physical theater. And that went on for many years. Then I started getting bored with myself and with the scripts that came and with the people I was working with. I was getting a sort of bitter, curmudgeon-y. Everything was nah. So I said, okay, I gotta stop doing this and I need to do something else. So from being a person who wore ripped shorts and, sort of vests and leotards and cutting my tights because that was too tight, I suddenly bought myself, formals, black shoes, black socks, pinstripe trousers, a shirt, a little briefcase, and I went for an interview and I got a job as a trainer for the call centers. That was about 4.5 years ago. I surprised myself. I surprised all my friends and family. But it gave me a whole new perspective on work. Because of dance, because of theater, you love your rehearsals, you love your practice sessions, you love performing. And you could put all that energy into getting people to sit for 9 hours in a training room and enjoy their work. Whether it was 9 to 5 in the day or 5 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 at night, or 12 to 6, 6 in the morning. So we were working 24/7, and it was wonderful to see that look where that energy has taken you and how you can sort of transfer it and transmit it and get people to fly on. And just yesterday, someone dropped in. He's a student of mine from the call center guys. He's doing his MBA. He wants to be a trainer now. So he came by and said, like, what do I do? I'm going to get a job as a, trainer and this, that, and the other. So there is something good in it all the same. So I guess that's me in a not such a small nutshell. I grew up South Bombay. Churchgate was very different at that time. They had bungalows with gardens. And one of these big fields over there, Cross Maidan, used to be our back garden. So as kids, we were thrown in the back all the time, like, go play, don't come back for the day. So it's a cycle, skate, ramble around, build little things out of mud and rocks, and make your own hovels. And then we shifted to this apartment in 70. So 60s to 70 I was there, then 70s to now we've been here. I schooled in Colaba Causeway, which is sort of the hub of Bombay, of sort of the cosmopolitan Bombay. So we had hippies and we had bums and derelicts and junkies all around us. And it was just part of life. I chatted with everybody, whether the prostitutes, pimps, junkies, or these guys would come and say, dollars, 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 It was like, oh, come here. Don't you know I'm going to school? Where am I going to get dollars from? So that was, I grew up there. Then Xavier's College is, again, 15 minutes walking from here. Then Elphinstone College, which is down the road from here. So it's all South Bombay, all very Victorian and British and monuments, buildings, great outfits. And family is a small nuclear family, very un-Indian. Mother, father, one and only son. So I guess that's why Dodo is the nickname. My father gave me that nickname, so let's not get anything wrong there. He thought I looked like a dodo bird when I was a child, with a big nose, big eyes. Never slept. Kept them up all night. So Dodo, Dodo, and I'd only answer to that. And Faredoon was too many syllables for a fetus, I guess.
So the religion of your parents and your upbringing?
We are Zoroastrian. So, but very sort of freewheeling. We go to the temple on the odd, religious fest or something. More often for funerals, or if there's a wedding and the fire temple's in the same place, which they have very often, then you pop into the fire temple. And that's the only time we really have gone to the fire temple or any religious sort of thing. There's one place at Bhujwala, which I've been to once, where the sacred fire came from Persia. So that's a little north. It's it's on the Gujarat border. So we're not like rabid. My mother is more Christian bent because she went to convents all her life. She teaches in a convent still at 73. So she has more of a Our Lady bent. I just believe in everything and nothing at the same time, as I think I wrote to you in the mail. I'll go to a temple, I'll go to the fire temple, I'll go to a church, I'll go to a mosque, I'll go to a Hindu temple, I'll go to a Gurdwara. What else is there? I've been to zillions of synagogues, and I love talking to priests, and more so head priests, because there's something in their heads which I have to get into, and there's something about me being such a maverick that we zoom towards each other like magnets. And it's wonderful. It's fireworks in a nice way, or it's fireworks in a like really intense way. Like friends are trying to pull me out of there. Like, come on, you've said your bit. Now let's get out of here. Like, no. He's not finished. I've not finished. This has to, be wrapped up nicely. And it's interesting because it happens inevitably. I'm in a small town traveling around where there's just 75 people, and this guy says, "Oh, you must come to our temple." And we're like, "Oh, yeah, let's go." And I toodle up the hill. It's like cold and sweaty because you're like wearing all this thing. And there's this priest who looks at me and says, "Why are you wearing a leather belt?" I went to keep my pants up. So, take it off. You can't come into the temple like that. I said, I don't want to come into your temple. Why don't you come out so we can chat then? And this poor guy who's taken me up there is like, "What is happening?" I said, I should have warned you. This happens very often with me. It's just that it's the more rabid, sort of closed priests completely freak out. And at the same time, it's the same closed ones who, after talking, we become like inseparable for those few days when I'm around. And it's a strange thing. It's just wonderful. Belief, trust, truth, love. I think love, compassion, goodwill, natural goodness, which we all have. But religion or faith keeps reminding you about it, or they think the rituals and the masses and the pujas and all the rites remind you about that. But I think somewhere along the way we've lost that. That connection of natural goodness sits there, whether you go to church, temple, mosque, whatever. So faith is something that you have inside you, whether it's for humanity or it is mainly humaneness. And that's faith, natural goodness, compassion, love, goodwill. I think because these are the things that keep us alive. It's not your salary, it's not your love life. Those are part of it. But the main thing is your flame, your spirit is fed by natural goodness. And if you project it, then you attract the goodness. It's like the Red Indian story. You feed, whichever wolf you feed, it's like that. You feed the goodness, you get the goodness. You feed the badness, if there's anything like that. You get the wicked, you get the evil, you get the dark, you get the violence. And it's very apparent in the world right now, especially. It's like everybody is feeding the paranoia, feeding the fear. So that seems to be like the global consciousness now is more there rather than just the basic goodness in everybody, in anybody. I believe in something up there. It's more, I'd say it's more God force. I think it's more like a higher energy, a higher vibration, a higher something. Per se God, old man, white beard. Yeah, it's in all the pictures we have Zarathustra, who's the son of God. But again, Ahura Mazda is never represented. It's just a symbol with the wings, or just the fire. So I believe that sort of source is there. There's a source. There's the source of all the energies. Like in Buddha's meditation, there is no God, it's you. It's your connection and how clear you keep that. So I think it's more about that energy, how you channelize it. It's there, it's coming through you all the time. But how you're using it. I mean, he, she, it is pouring it there. And it's whether it's sort of channel, the path. So I love God pictures, everybody's religious gods. I love looking at them and like looking at them. Look, they all look the same. They're all old men with white beards. Are all old men with white beards God? No. Where's the old woman with white God? No, she's not there. So you have the goddess energy, you have the God energy. But I think we all have the gods and the goddesses in us. So it's about, and we like to, as I say, project God in our image. Maybe he's projecting us in his image. It's all very confusing there. But since people need that pathway, that religion, that ritual, fine. But like I said, I can't sit through ritual for very long. I mean, I can be there for just the essence of time when there's you suddenly feel like, oh wow, this is really powerful, this is really nice, there's some great energy here. I'll sit through that. But the minute you start finding them whinging on and going around somewhere else, and you feel they're just taking people on their little path because I'm the priest and I have to pray for 3 hours, 45 minutes at the It's the stars say so, I say so. That's the point I also probably just go. It's always, when you say God connection, faith, I found it always in nature, outside. It's always been out in the country. I'm pretty much a loner. I'm very social. I'm completely a loner in a crowd of maybe 5,000 people. I can be completely at peace, alone. Fantastic. Yes, it's nice to have people. But we used to go on hikes and a lot of out of uh, out of the city because I've been a city-bred child, and it's always been out there in a jungle, on a mountaintop, sitting in a cave. That suddenly that things would there was a clarity. Let's just say a plain clarity. I wouldn't say, I saw lights or anything like that. Just clarity, moments of total clarity, which was for me. I love those moments of clarity. So I love going on the hikes and being left alone in the middle of nowhere because those are the only times it would happen. Sitting in a jungle, babbling brook, everybody's gone out. Or I've had to go hike 6 miles to the nearest town to bring provisions, and I'll sit down in the middle of nowhere, and then you suddenly have like the world opens up all its sweet little secrets to you, whether it's a bird, leaf, fresh one with dewdrop. Everything's like hyper clear, hyper aware. I mean, I'm hyper aware, and those were what we'd call probably moments of clarity, truth, flashes of, give me the word, epiphany. It's a big word, no? But you feel, this is it. This is life. This is real. Every flower is sort of like Walt Disney almost singing to you. But you feel those moments, and that sort of joy I've only had in nature. And yes, when living, you can always keep those in the back, but it's difficult to be, well, you can be aware, if not saying I'm not aware in the city. Other times been on stage, strangely enough. You're performing, and being a dancer, I mean, every part of your body is like more than alive. Every cell is like zinging and singing, and you can feel people sort of, their eyes are popping out watching this person on stage. Is either going to like self-combust or something, but you're in full control of yourself, and there's more energy than what you'd normally do with your little warm-up, and it's just moments of complete truth and clarity that you're lucky to have them, and you're there sort of having it with an audience of 1,000+ people. So you're sharing something with them, and those moments for me and those people will never go away. So again, it's not like I'm sitting there in meditation and I've had nirvana. That comes with meditation later on too. But these are the earliest memories. I have not really sat. I'm not a good journal writer. I keep saying I should. Everyone says you should, but I haven't. The earliest was these out in the countryside. Then was dancing. It's at the end of a 2-hour performance. Most people are sort of knackered. We'd go out. Most people would drink. I used to drink, but not too much. I get antsy after a while. I need to sort of do something. So I'd leave my friends drinking and I'd go dancing. So I said, but you've danced already all evening. I said, I need to dance more. So I'd go out and dance all night. And after that, it was like I was walking on air. And I'd walk a lot meaning like from Santa Cruz down to town, after having danced for a show in a nightclub. And then it's like, I still need to, get that energy out because there's so much. And it was not any sort of substance imbibed or anything. It was just pure energy. Because you warm up, you do a show, and you're all charged up. You've been like expounding all this energy. And then it's still a lot of energy still like shooting out of you. You're sort of just, you can feel anything you do. You sort of raise your finger and people go like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean you. It was that much power. So you needed to just work it out. And the only way was physically dance, then walk and walk and walk and walk. And then walk. Santa Cruz is about, 20 odd kilometers from here. So I'd like charge down the highway. I'll take a bus from the next bus stop. Oh, I'll take a cab from that main road. Oh, I'm going to take the train from there. rubbish. I was going to walk home. So I'd do that and then and then sort of either go to the gateway and watch a sunrise or the terrace or something, and then like grounding, grounding, grounding. And so those were the show bit. Then I discovered a lot of people. I mean, I've always been a people's person. They'd come and sort of just talk their heads out, and somehow or the other you sort of try and help them out. So there was a woman who's being abused in her marriage and physically abused, and I'm like, oh, I know a friend who helps, married things and all that, and she does all these things. She's a woman's woman. Let's go there. So I take her there. She says, Reiki, Reiki, Reiki. I said, yeah, you must do Reiki. You must do Reiki. She says, no, you should do Reiki. I said, why me? She's the one who has the problem. She says, no, you come and do Reiki with us. So I did Reiki, 1, 2, 3, master. Then pranic healing was fashionable, this Filipino energy thing. So I got into that, and I did 1, 2, 3, 4. That was like a master. There's something about me, if I do something, if it's all or nothing. So I can't stop midway. You have to, like I did Reiki 1, they said, oh, be vegetarian for 2 days, and they said, be vegetarian for 2 weeks and do self-practice. I went, okay, fine, I did 2 weeks, I did 3 weeks, I did Reiki 2. Oh, do vegetarian for another 2 weeks, and fine. I'm a vegetarian now this is 93. 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 16 years. So it was a trigger. And that led to pranic healing, which is a little more, Reiki is more sort of maternal and warm and sort of comfort zone. Pranic healing is a little more masculine and a little more aggressive healing. I mean, so much so that we slice just a little gash here and then physically, sort of generate energy and heal it and keep healing it till the scar and the line disappears, and it happens. And it's quite freaky and it's quite fantastic. But again, I did a lot of this, and they wanted me to become a teacher, and I realized at that point that this is when it was getting a little weirding out. You're playing with natural energy. You don't want to change balances there. In between, I started doing Vipassana, and Vipassana is just so balanced, and so, the word Goenka uses, equanimous, that you do these sort of things, you're tilting the equanimity. Maybe your own, maybe somebody else's, So you do just enough of a healing to bring them to a certain balance, and then go. But people tend to cling. I want you to keep healing them. I go, no, this is what I've done. This is how you do it. Go ahead and do it yourself. But people don't like that. They want to keep coming back and say, sir, do this for me, do it for me. And Vipassana, in fact, asked me to make a choice between these healings and meditation. So I went, obviously the meditation. Maybe it's selfish, but that is the sort of balance. Because by doing these things, a lot of the teachers, the Reiki teachers and the pranic teachers have become big ego guru stars. And that's something I've always not been. And India is a sycophantic country. Everybody wants to say, he's my guru, I'll do anything he does. It's like, won't you think what he's going to do before you want to do it? That's why I think I wrote that line. Did you read what I sent? So I believe nothing initially until I experience it and question it and take from it what I find has essence of truth and reality for me. And if I can implement it and I see it doing good and I see it works good, fine. If I see the thing, like I found the healings going a little awry, draw a line there. It stays outside the circle. So that's why I believe, but not everything. I'll sort of pick and choose. And I found this line actually in a book about the Dalai Lama, and I found that's such a beautiful line. Like, believe nothing, question everything, then believe it. Because that's your awareness then, and it raises the consciousness, I guess, of you. Spiritual journey back there. So Vipassana then. So after the 80s was all these pranic healing things. Then it was just, 90s, early 90s, early Reiki, pranic healing crystals, yabba dabba dubba dubba, Saint Germain, Purple Fire, all these. I just went all these groups. In fact, I triggered up all these groups, and they still think they become a little militant, and they say like, "I bequeath my oath to," and what are you all doing? So I'm like, thank God I left when I did. But they do. They sort of wave flags and thump their chests and put their hands in the air. I'm like, and then I think Vipassana worked in a very long way around. And the reason I probably started this training and getting into the corporate world was putting the basics into effect and to be able to sort of share it in a bigger way than just like-minded friends and meditation friends and healing friends and theater friends at workshops. It was very select. This was very public, and you're out there and you have 30, 40 people from all walks of life, various strata of society. Some of the people who I've been training they're the first person in their family to have had an education. And they're working in a call center. And I'm very proud of them because I feel like their mommy, daddy, because they're looking after a family of 9. And because they're the first ones to have education, they're seeing to it that their siblings are getting educated. And that side of the world is not the seamy side where everybody just goes and buys Reeboks and branded things and bleaches their hair and thinks they're American. That's 2 or 3%. The rest are just working because they've suddenly discovered, like, I can get so much money. And with that, I can buy a house after. A person at mid-20s buying a house in the city is unheard of until this started, because they could buy a small house way out in the suburbs, but yeah, it's a home. It's not a hovel on the road or a slum. It's not a makeshift thing which could fall down with the rains. So watching that happening, I realized, okay, this is what it's about. It's not about just the training, about the English, about that. It's about putting a whole lot of other stuff into as an undercurrent, as a behavioral shift, as a slight paradigm shift for them. That it's not about being Western or Eastern or Indian and non-Indian. It's about using this to move on, to grow, to evolve as a human being, as a person. So I think, well, my religion has been Zoroastrian all along. So I go to the temple then. There's a lovely well here, which I really love because it's a well. It's got sweet water. It's been there for 1725 is when it was built. There's fish in it, and there's these 2 dogs. And so it's very natural and very sweet and warm. And I go there much more often than anywhere else because it's just here. It's in the middle of the hub of the city. You step in, it's another world. You can walk by here later, I'll show you where it is. Or you can drive by. And the fire temple, again, I go on odd days rather than festival days because then it's quiet, it's peaceful. There's just this huge urn with fire. I sit there, say my prayers, meditate, and I just feel grounded and warm-hearted. It's normally the strange thing, and it's a fact in life. It's either fear or sadness. It's also been a joy, actually. There was once when I was like overjoy. I was like, oh my God, it cannot get better than this. And it was a sunrise. It was a dawn of I didn't realize it was a new era. It was a new era. It was the 90s. It was the sunrise of the 90s in Goa. And I danced my hoofs off all night. And I was on this cliff. There was this sunrise, and there's this ocean. I was just like, whoo, everything was like joy. The whole world sort of bubbling and opening up with joy. And so with that moment too, I was like, with God and the celestial beings, it was like, this is so good. And there's nothing spectacular. There are no new lights. But again, it's just a sunrise. Every little leaf, every little rock, it's literally like from the rocks and stones themselves will start to sing from Superstar. It felt like that. And just so happy with all the rocks and so on. This person sitting next to me is like, what is with you? I said, it's so lovely. Everyone's so happy. And look at God smiling in the little trees there, and the little grass there. And you're like, that's good. And that to the moment when my father was dying in my arms. It's so even at that moment, you knew that he's going and I'm going. It was tough for both of us, tougher for him because he was fighting it. And I was like, don't fight it. Go peacefully. And I was just trying to call whatever I knew I could call to help him go peacefully. I mean, it's tough. Tough on us, tough on you, but... So those are the connections which are very strong because... And there was a moment... The moment he leaves, there was a sound, there was a sensation in the sternum. It was like a pop. And I don't know whether it was his soul, my soul, what. It was just a click, a pop. And he was gone. And I was like, and it was just what I was saying. It was all my prayers put together, mainly my Parsi prayers. And that's when you know because I did imbibe a lot of his energy at that moment. And in the last few days when we knew he was dying, he thought I was just maverick, non-religious person. And we were in Pune at his sister's place and he wanted to come back and he was too fragile. So, I want to go to this one temple because someone has put a curse on me and this is the one prayer which I need to go and say in this temple. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. And so what is a prayer? So he says, no, you won't know it because I know only the basic prayers. So I said, is it this one which is written, strangely enough, by the king who was a priest whose name I have, called Faredoon? And he says, how do you know that prayer? I said, well, I don't really know it, but I'm thinking it out because my grandfather had given me this prayer in Gujarati and I can't read Gujarati. On my desk, I had it there for years. Then my mother wrote it out in Roman scripture next to it. I put it next to it, and I just look at it every now and then. And not really say it, but just keep reading it. When you're on your desk and you're sort of zoning out and trying to do something else, everything distracts you. This was my focus. And from just looking at it, I had absorbed it. And I found, again, the God connection was so strong that it arrived when was most needed. That I knew the whole prayer at that moment. And I shocked myself as much as my father. I'm like, how do you know that? I'm like, it's there on my desk. I've never said it, but I know it. And saying this now, I remember another time. We had a bad accident. A friend of mine was in hospital with a broken leg and he was being a nuisance. He was shrieking. He was in great pain, I agree. But you don't shriek at 2 a.m. and wake up the rest of the hospital. So I just sort of held on to his leg. This was way before I did Reiki and all that. So, he had been plaster, cast, surgery, nails or whatever, rods. Just held on to it, squeezed it. And from the bottom of my heart or wherever, my old parts, my Shembahu, which I hadn't said in years, just kept coming. And I kept saying them, just holding his leg, and I thought it was hurting him. But he shut up. And that's when I realized the force of prayers, God, belief, faith. So, does that answer your question? It happens when I think everything around you is going around askew. Everybody seems to be at odds with you and with themselves, within themselves. Very much like probably what we went through a couple of months ago after this terrorist attack. We had a similar upheaval. It happens, I think, once every 10 years. It happens once every decade almost. It happened in the 80s, it happened in the early 90s. It's at those moments that it's like this fracture or what's the thing when rocks go like that?
Tectonic plates?
Yeah, the tectonic plates move like that. There's a fissure. There's a fissure. And it's at that moment, in that fissure, that whether you call it evil or wickedness or whatever, nasty things, they sort of, jab themselves in there. And that happens, there's a paradigm shifts where everybody's running askew, and this is the people use that weak point to sort of get into it, which happened in the 80s, which happened in the 90s when we had riots in the city for 4 days, and so that's when you start doubting faith, because you find everybody is busy giving you their point of view and their opinion, which is not radically different from what the news and the media is feeding them. But it's not, again, human. It's not good. It's not about growth, development, goodness, compassion. Compassion. I think compassion seems to leave at those moments. Love seems to be missing entirely in society, and the birds don't seem to sing. It's something as basic as that. It's like there's this eerie void. And in that void, people are filling in rubbish things. And because everybody is so distraught, they're accepting that. They're accepting of militancy, they're accepting of fundamentalism, they're accepting of right-wing radical stuff. And that's when I doubt faith. And I'm like, where are you? What's happening? Why are people burning, and why are we listening to wailing women on the phone when cops are telling you, it's all okay, and army is saying we can't go in because this is happening, and you're going like, but just go in and save families. I mean, it's lives, whoever it is, And we were told to stay where we were and whatever, but I was shattered, and I was like, full of rage, and it happened again last year when this happened, because it was not so much the terrorist attack, it was the way it held our country to ransom for 4 days. And then everybody jumps up and says, they're the bad guys, we're the good guys. I said, it's not just good and bad. It's like, what about the rot within? If we put our people up with fake bulletproof jackets, what's the point? If people could take 6 hours of, not one, half an hour to cross the road and get over to where the terrorists were, why are we giving them roses and singing candles and, holding sort of vigils to them? That's when I feel wronged and my faith shaken. Or even when very good friends and relatives suddenly are going through whatever they're going through and turn into strange monsters at you, and you go like, what happened there? That's when those fissures, those fractures, that's when the faith should be stronger, so put it back up there. But I guess those fissures are needed. So it's been when this whole country's happened. It's been in a professional life too, when, suddenly, I think it's someone's ego gets too big, and out of their insecurities, they sort of start trodding on other people. That's when I start, I get militant, I guess, at that point too. Because it's the Don Quixote that comes out.
So what do you make of the events in November from a spiritual perspective?
That's a weird question, yeah. It's, from a spiritual perspective, it's inexplicable. I'd say it's more, why spiritual? How could you explain it spiritually? You can't. Well, it's just that we are a very open target, and again, this whole disparity in society in Bombay is so high and so great that it was coming. If it wasn't from outside, it would be from within. And now it's happening from within, in fact. So the sad thing is, this has opened up another whole Pandora's box. That now it's from within the rot is showing, which is good, because it means it's time to clean out the worms and the germs. So maybe it was needed. It's a horrible thing to say. To open people's eyes, to make them sit up, and we have a lot of these action and pressure groups. which would not have happened if this had not happened. So it's a wake-up call. It's a warning that we need to be much more aware and much more compassionate and much more balanced. I mean, people completely lost their... There were crowds outside the Taj to watch like a live show. And there was nobody manning those crowds. It was like bizarre. It was like so completely and totally twisted. You know, I mean, even the TV, it was like a bad B-grade movie. Everything was just so real, but so completely unreal because it was just so corny in a way. Like 9, 12 people hold the country to ransom. And millions of people thronging to watch it. And again, the sort of incapacity to do anything for us. It's like, so I think it's a like, wake up, be sharper. That's the only thing I could think. Mother Nature. The sun rises every day without us asking it. I love that sun. I wonder how people can live, say, up in the North Pole with no sun for 6 years. Or for that matter, London, which has a lid on its head all the time, and you see the sun for those little bits there. Yeah, very grateful for that. The sun has a lot of energy. Oh, it's just a happy planet. Like what I've seen, what I've experienced in Mother Nature, if we could all be in sync with that and enjoy it and just accept and appreciate everyone and everything for who and what they are, rather than fight and try and convince them of, I'm right, you're wrong. I think just harmony, unity, love, compassion, goodwill, as Goenka says in Vipassana. It's the last thing we ever do. It's a Mangal Metta, which is sort of generate love, compassion, peace, goodwill. And just by saying that, and all these flashes come through your mind of all the wonderful little moments, a hug here, an eye connection with a total stranger, a little twinkling of a gypsy that you've just passed by through the desert. It's just that we're all connected, we're all one. Never matter what, why, where, and how, but there is oneness. Accept it, appreciate it. Live with it, enjoy it, celebrate it, be it. Oh, I don't know. What do you want to know about me? Love, 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 love. They should know that there is, natural goodness that we all have and we all should share.